Okay, hello there. It is New Year's Eve 2024. Obviously, this year's video going into 2025 will be 2025 questions and optimism. So, many of you know last year we were facing a lot of anxiety. When we were coming from 2023 going into 2024. Obviously, there were a lot of uncertainties with the presidential election that we just had, and I think we're going to recap the year and then focus on how it could lead into 2025. A lot of things we're going to talk about, and of course, I'll dive deep into a little of my personal life here, but I guess we're going to start off with again, how we led last year. It was a lot of questions of what was going to happen with the election. Were we going to have a presidential rematch for the first time since 1892? It had seemed at first that it was going to be the case between former President Donald Trump and the current incumbent president, Joe Biden. It looked like we were on that course that was going to transpire through the summer. And then we saw the debate performance from President Biden in June. The Democrats were telling him to drop out of the race. And then not to mention that former President Trump was almost assassinated in Butler, Pennsylvania. Then, of course, it led to the Democrats nominating Vice President Kamala Harris, and we know how it ended up. So we are facing history in a matter of the next couple of weeks. Donald Trump is going to become the second president to serve a non-consecutive term. And we all have to face the reality that there are a lot of questions that we don't know what the current Trump administration is planning to do. There are questions about how illegal immigration is going to be handled. We don't know how the mass deportation plan is going to work. I'm sure in the next couple of weeks, probably towards the end of January, we'll get a clear idea of how it's going to work, hopefully. I am 100% optimistic about one thing that will definitely happen in New York City. And I am hoping that President Trump will tell all the illegal immigrants in the Roosevelt Hotel, you gotta vacate the building, get out. I'm hoping that will be the case. They cannot be there anymore. I don't care if they go somewhere else. I don't care, honestly, if they go south of the border at this point. They just need to vacate the building. All right? Because they took away the charm, the characteristics of the neighborhood. That's not what Madison Avenue is supposed to represent. So I'm glad that hopefully President Trump will tell them, adios, bye, get out. All right, and that's not what the Roosevelt Hotel is supposed to be served as. I know the owners had to sell the building in 2019 because the Roosevelt was facing issues even before the pandemic. The owners were selling it in 2019, and then the building was vacant. And then New York City just took over the building and said, hey, we're just going to put the Biden-era illegal immigrants in the building. So I hope that will be part of the mass deportation plan. Maybe it is. I don't know, because Donald Trump is keeping it a secret, and it should be kept a secret. If you're going to go through with a large plan like this, and this has happened once in our country's history, if you do the research correctly. It happened in 1954 with President Dwight D. Eisenhower. Let me clear this string up. You don't want to give the plan out and then cause mass hysteria over it. It has to be kept top secret. Think of it as when President Obama killed Osama bin Laden. That had to be kept the top secret. That's national security. This is a national security thing that President Trump is handling. So you don't want it to go out to the public. The media makes a big deal out of it, Especially CNN. Oh boy. You know how they'll have a meltdown, right? So, I don't know what will happen with the mass deportation plan. It'll be a lot of questions about it. I don't know what will happen. But I just want the main thing is, as a New Yorker, I just want the Roosevelt cleared out. That's all I'm asking President Trump to do. And I understand why President Trump is urgently trying to get the building vacated, because Donald Trump's start in real estate began with the Commodore Hotel nearby. So I think President Trump still owns the building. I don't know who owns it, but Donald Trump was the one who got the building to the way it was in the 1980s. And then, that's how Trump got into real estate with Rory Cohen, his lawyer at the time. So, yes, a big gratitude does, again, go to President Trump for the infrastructure that we do have around Midtown Manhattan nowadays. So, there is going to be urgency, and we'll see what occurs on that. The other urgency that President Trump is going to have to deal with, I want to hope and pray that we'll have a similar situation with Ronald Reagan, and hoping and praying that, we will have an end to the war in Israel. It's very difficult to think that now, it's been a whole year since that awful day, October 7th, 2023. It's just been a nightmare that I wish I could erase. I compare it to 9/11, honestly, the way I look at it. 9/11 was different because, honestly, I was at school when it happened. But when October 7th happened, I woke up to that news on that Saturday. It was too much for me to bear. And I carried through this year. I know it was a Monday. I think I went to work that day. But, life went on in Israel. I know everything was still open in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem a couple months ago on that date. But we still have 100 hostages. Some of them are Americans, believe it or not, still held in captivity. And so hopefully President Trump will get the Israeli hostages out. Or maybe as President Trump is taking the oath of office, like what happened with the Iranian hostages in 1981, I am optimistic that Hamas will release the hostages. Now, as far as what will occur in Israel, the one thing that honestly gets me antsy and concerned, we still do not know if the Knesset will hold its election. Because as of now, the Israeli Knesset is not supposed to be holding the election until 2026. So there's a possibility that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will still get another year, which honestly scares me. Because before October 7th, Bibi was doing crazy things that I did not agree with him on. His political ideology has dramatically changed. And it gets me antsy, worried, and anxious, wondering, well, we got Yair Lapid elected out. We got his majority elected out of the Knesset, but now a large majority of the Israeli population is getting fed up with Netanyahu, or have already been fed up with Netanyahu, And now there are calls for the Knesset to hold its election in a matter of months. I am optimistic that maybe it will happen, but if not, then Lapid's going to have to, Yair's going to really have to step it up and keep attacking Netanyahu the way I look at it. So we'll see what occurs, but I know I don't like to make endorsements as much on here, but I would hope that Yair is going to run for prime minister again, and I hope that the large majority of the Israeli population will fully be behind him, either if it's this upcoming year or until the proper Knesset date is called in 2026. So I don't, like to talk about Israeli politics as much on here, but given the circumstances, because many of you know I am part Israeli, I have to talk about it because, I'm still antsy what will occur. I am very antsy. I really do not know what will occur with Israel in the next couple of months. But we can hope and pray that Donald Trump will be friendly with Israel. We know that he's close with Benjamin Netanyahu, and I would hope that President Trump could have a working relationship with Yair Lapid should something occur. I would hope. So there's that to think about. And then the last thing that we need to get into is the economy. What will happen with inflation? Will Donald Trump go through with putting tariffs on China? And, of course, putting tariffs on Mexico? That could really make the inflation worse than it already is. Donald Trump was elected to handle inflation. And so now inflation's starting to get steady. It's not going up. It's not going down. It does tie into the interest rates because the Fed's targeting a 3.9% rate next year. And you want that number to be at 3.9%. If it gets too high, then, it's to tackle inflation. If it gets too low, it could possibly cause a stock market crash. And we've seen how the market has done this year. The stock market is at an all-time high. And there's a possibility that the Dow Jones Industrial Average next year, and I don't like to talk about the stock market as much, but it does tie into the fact that next calendar year, the Dow Jones Industrial Average could hit 50,000. That's never happened before. Look at crypto. That's something that was bound to happen. Bitcoin hit $100,000 this year? I mean, this is going to be a great year for the stock market, I think, if you're getting into it. But also for people like me who are learning about the real estate market, especially because, again, I'm hoping to get out of New York because just today my dad paid our property taxes. Go figure that. They're already... Isn't it crazy to think the city of New York is already antsy to collect our 2024 return already? That's crazy. I can't believe on New Year's Eve my dad actually paid it today. But hopefully today marks the last time that we're paying New York City property tax, or we're paying it off next year. I don't know how that would work out. I'd have to talk to our accountant about that because our accountant here in New York, he just qualified to do taxes in both Delaware and Maryland recently. And I think he also does taxes in New Jersey and Pennsylvania too, because CPAs, they can figure things out. But at least the good news is I'm glad that we have a CPA in New York that's going to work out with us. So, hasta la vista to New York. I hope the interest rate will be at 3.9 like the Federal Reserve is targeting, because if it's not that, then I don't know. I mean, do you really want to keep the interest rate at 4% even, or 4.25? I don't know. I mean, that's kind of... anything below 3% should be alarming. Because again, if it gets below 3%, then the whole real estate market could collapse just like 2008. But in 2008, that was a different story because the banks just kept giving a lot of loans out, the interest rates were low, and then, yeah, you don't want that to happen all over again. So the Fed better be careful. All right? The only reason why the interest rate was flat in 2020 was because, think about it, nothing was going on. We were all locked down. It made sense to purchase real estate 4 years ago. But now, when you hear from realtors, when you hear from the central bank themselves, and I also want to mention, 3.9% interest rate is good because if you took out a CD since 2021, and I know this for a fact, if you took out a CD in 2021, the APR was good. So you don't want to see your APR rates go down because then you'll have less money next year, especially if you are a first-time home buyer. So, again, it's something that I'm antsy about. I have to keep monitoring the Fed every month, and, I'm not going to do videos on it every single month. It's just for this time today because, the Federal Reserve kept waiting too long to lower the interest rate this year. We were supposed to see drastic cuts this year. We were supposed to actually see a 3.9% interest rate this year, and then the Fed was supposed to target, what, an even 3.25 rate? I don't know how it works with Jerome Powell, but that's where I'm going to leave it at. But I do believe, and given that I'm learning about real estate, I think now is the time to get into real estate. So it's good that there are people optimistic about becoming a first-time homeowner next year. I really think next year we're going to see the real estate market boom. It's already booming in Delaware. I'm looking at my future neighborhood, a Bear for an example. Oh my goodness. The listings just keep going bye-bye. So there's that. A piece of my breakfast just came loose. So there you have it. Daylight savings. I don't know what's going to happen with that. Oh my goodness. I hope it doesn't change. It'll be a mess if it changes. If you change daylight savings time to permanent or you get rid of it, I'm sorry. That's just a big mistake. I think the system works the way it does. I think it's evened out that we changed the clocks in November and then we changed them back in March. I understand that people complain we lose 1 day of sleep. There's so many accidents that happen on the road and then, oh my goodness, it gets dark out in December. But look, the system works. It evens out sunrise and sunset times for various days of the year. I really think that would be a big mistake to change it. Because if you were to put daylight savings time all year round, I have a friend of mine who lives in Seattle. And she's very worried that if President Trump makes it permanent year round, where daylight savings time is permanent, sunrise in Seattle won't be until 9 a.m. That's very alarming. New York City in December, sunrise during daylight savings time being permanent wouldn't be until 8:30 in the morning. We're talking December. Oh, and this is the kicker. If daylight savings time becomes standard time all year round, guess what? We lose on the East Coast in July because the sunset would be at 7 o'clock at night. No. That would be a big mistake. I love my 8 p.m. sunsets in the summer. I love it. That's what makes Delmarva such a magical place in the summer. You can't change that. So if I'm President Trump and if I'm Congress, just please leave it alone. I would never change our current system. Again, I think it works for everyone. Daylight savings in the summer, and then we have standard time this time of the year. I really think it works. So please do not change it. Please, that's all I'm asking, because it would be an awful mistake if we don't spring forward the clocks in the forward in the spring and then fall back in the fall. Oh, and then one more thing. Bobby Kennedy. Oh boy, I hope the food doesn't taste different next year. We're going to have to wait and see what occurs with that. Alright, so now that we're done talking about the federal government and what could happen, now let's talk about a couple of local issues. First up in New York. Oh boy. June is going to come soon, and New York City is going to have a primary for mayor. That's going to be a mess. As of now, we know that it sounds like Curtis Lee was going to give it another run for mayor of New York City, hopefully. If you notice, the Guardian Angels are back on the subways right around New Year's. I honestly think it's interesting timing with all these dangerous, disturbing subway incidents that have been occurring the past couple of weeks. Not to mention that an illegal immigrant lit a woman on fire at Coney Island, Stillwell Avenue Station. There have been so many violent incidents that have been occurring during the holidays that now Curtis Lewa, and you're going to notice it in the next couple of weeks and the months ahead. You think the Guardian Angels are doing this for their regular thing? No. I honestly think Curtis Lee was trying to run for mayor again. It looks like it. If he wants to run, then so be it. I mean, you know how many people are going to donate to him? I really think there's going to be a lot more corporate donors this time. And I know Wall Street might go into it, but, you know, I really think there are people who are going to turn against the Democrat corporate machine. Sure, you'll have a couple of other rich elitists get involved in it. I mean, look at the other people who are trying to challenge Eric Adams right now. I mean, Scott Stringer's running again? Really? Why is Scott Stringer running again after his supposed sexual harassment scandal in 2021? For the love of me, why is he running? So now everybody is pouncing over to Comptroller Brad Lander. Now, Brad Lander seems to be the favorite in the whole Democrat field to go behind Eric Adams, because Eric Adams right now, he's actually having a very hard time getting funds for his mayoral campaign because of the whole corruption charges he's facing after taking the bribe from Turkey. Taking bribes from Turkey, right. So now it seems Brad Lander is the favorite. I would think that if I were to take a wild card out of this whole field at the moment, and given how Queens could play a factor into this, especially the Latino vote, don't count Jessica Ramos out for people doing the ranked choice voting come June. I think you'll see that when the ranked choice gets counted, I think Jessica does have a chance in this whole mayoral field. So, how many votes will Eric get? Maybe he gets the third amount of votes. I don't know. I'm really wondering what could happen here. There's a rumor going around that Andrew Cuomo wants to run for mayor. I think he wants to honestly do it because he's publicly expressed frustrations with Kathy Hochul recently, his former lieutenant governor, when he was the governor. Don't be surprised if Andrew Cuomo somehow enters the race. I would not be surprised if he did. If I had to pick somebody else who might consider running, I don't think Richie Torres is going to run, because there's a rumor he wants to run for the Democratic nomination for governor of New York. So I honestly think Richie's going to stay out of it. Maybe Andrew Cuomo stays out of it. Maybe he runs for governor next year. Because then, when you think about 2026, then at least you have two Democrats who will challenge Kathy Hochul for the Democrat nomination. I don't think Tom Suozzi will run again. No, I'm not even going to mention him. You know who else could run for mayor? Sounds a lot more logistical here, but what about Jumaane Williams? I mean, he could run. He has a lot of money. Right now, he's running for... right now he is running for public advocate again, right? So, let's say if Eric Adams resigns or found guilty on corruption in April, oh boy. Imagine if President Trump doesn't pardon Eric Adams. I'm going to say it, but I'm hoping President Trump will pardon Eric Adams, because the last thing you need is Jumaane Williams to be mayor a month before the primary. Oh, that would be a big mess. Man, that would be a mess. So we'll see what occurs. I mean, right now, in terms of polling, Eric Adams would lose easily to Andrew Cuomo. He would lose easily. Right. Andrew Cuomo does favorable ratings against Brad Lander, does favorable against Jessica Ramos. So if the Democrats were to play it smart, they could go behind Andrew Cuomo. If they want to give him a second chance, why not? I don't see what would be wrong with the Democrats trying to put Andrew Cuomo against Curtis Sliwa. The way I could look at it, but we'll see what occurs. Now, again, in terms of the Republicans, looks like Sliwa is running. It looks like it. Alan Rosen, the owner of Juniors, he's been rumored that he wants to run. People are urging John Catsimatidis to give another run for mayor like he did in 2013, but I don't know how that would work out. I mean, a majority of the Republicans in New York City want Sliwa to run. There's a rumor going around, and this could sound a little crazy and nuts to be saying this potential name, but hear me out why I think this makes absolute sense. There have been rumors, and maybe because, nostalgia's sake, maybe because people want a sense of security, but 80-year-old former mayor Rudy Giuliani is even considering running. And here's why I think you should not count out Rudy Giuliani running for mayor again. Think about him being in the news this year. Think about how you have Rudy Giuliani, who has no money right now, after, everything that was about defending Donald Trump, trying to figure out where the missing ballots were in Georgia from the 2020 election, which I still think there are missing ballots. And I've been certainly having those conversations with his son Andrew, not Rudy directly, but many of you know I'm close with Andrew. Andrew and I have been saying that, his father should not be facing the charges in Georgia, given that we had every legal right to ask, hey, where are those missing 11,000 votes? I still think to this day they are missing. And for those people that had absentee votes in 2020, I don't care if it was Biden or Trump at this point. Where are they? They are still missing. Raffensperger in Georgia still has no clue where they are almost 4 years later. And I still think the electoral count in 2020 is still miscounted. There's still a chance that Donald Trump may have won the state of Georgia. And those electoral counts may have been undercounted. And so thinking about if Rudy Giuliani does run for mayor, he could get money from the city campaign finance board. Remember, if you're a New York City resident, if you donate $10, you get matching funds. So if Rudy Giuliani qualifies for the matching funds, you know how much money he could get by running for mayor? For 6 months, potentially? So don't count Rudy Giuliani not jumping into the race. I really think he could. Because I think he has an address somewhere in Manhattan, I think. Don't count it out that Rudy Giuliani could really think about running again. I really do not think it should be counted out. I mean, Rudy could run. And, you know, if Rudy does want to run, and given the circumstances, and given that, I know Vicky Palladino is close with both Rudy and Andrew, just like how I'm closer with Andrew than Rudy. But it would be very interesting if we could get Rudy Giuliani to run again. Especially when I spoke to Mayor Giuliani on the phone a couple of years ago. We were urging Curtis to campaign in Astoria. And Curtis didn't listen to us. That's why he might have lost the election in 2021. Because if you look at the map, Eric Adams overwhelmingly took a lot of the vote in Astoria. So if Rudy were to run, you know, we'll certainly do a campaign event at the Bel Air Diner. Because Rudy had mentioned to me, you know, while we were off the air, I'm not going to say it, but I'll just mention it. When Neptune Diner was still open, Rudy actually campaigned there twice. Both 1989 and in 1993. So being in the Astoria community is a very big deal. You need those votes in Queens if you're going to flip it. And then you need Bayside, Douglaston, Little Neck, possibly even Fresh Meadows to come out and vote for Rudy Giuliani if it were to occur. And keep this in mind, we've had somebody in politics make a comeback. Anybody remember Jerry Brown in California? He came back and he became governor again. So why not Rudy Giuliani? I mean, I don't know if it will happen, but keep an open mind, everyone. Now let's quickly get into Nassau County. It's safe to assume that Bruce Blakeman's probably going to run for county executive again next year. I would think that would be the obvious the Nassau Republicans are going to go with. It is safe to assume that he will run. As far as the Democrat field is concerned for Nassau County, that will be up to Jay Jacobs to find somebody who will run for county executive next year. I don't want to speculate if Laura Curran will run again. If Laura doesn't want to run, we should respect her wishes. She probably is happy with her current private life in Baldwin with her husband and her 2 kids. So that does not occur, then I have to assume that Jay will find someone who can be a strong candidate against Bruce Blakeman, but only time will tell. who the Democrat will be in Nassau County. Now, in Westchester, I'll quickly touch up on that. As of this Thursday, January 2nd, current incumbent George Latimer will vacate the seat. That is because he is going to Congress in Washington. We still do not know who will be the replacement in the interim. The good thing about George leaving is that Westchester will have a proper election come November. So we'll see what the people of Westchester County will decide. I would not, count out Rob Astorino. Never count Rob out, because he always has money. He can come back, and I don't know, maybe the people of Westchester give Rob another chance and he's their county executive next year. Only time will tell. Rob is still young. I know he's working for Newsmax at the moment, but I would think that the Westchester Republicans are going to fully ask Rob to run again. And I would hope that Rob will definitely consider it. Because I'm not familiar with the Democrats in Westchester. I don't really know the Nassau Democrats too, but just saying, we'll see what occurs. And then Delaware. Oh boy. What will Matt Meyer do? And then more importantly, Newcastle County is going to have to hold a special election to potentially figure out who's going to become the next county executive. I mean, Matt Meyer's been Newcastle County executive for so long that nobody really had thought out, what's going to happen when Matt becomes governor on January 21st. Now, I will say to John Carney, best wishes as you begin your new chapter in Wilmington. If you're not aware, John Carney is now going to be the new mayor of Wilmington beginning January 21st. So we wish John the best of wishes in his new job. Hopefully something can be done about the crime. That's all I'm going to say. But first things first. And Matt Meyer has been talking about, I want to do this for Sussex County. Can we please get the speed limit lowered on Route 113? I mean, really. You know how many accidents have been caused by those speed traps? Oh, and not to mention, the media is hiding this from you, but DelDOT confirmed that there were over 30 plus accidents on Route 113 this year. Over 30 because of the speed. So for a 2-lane road like that, and I've been saying, can we get the speed limit lowered to 45 miles per hour? Or at least 40? Because I don't want to see another count from DelDOT. Oh no! We've had over this many amount of accidents in Sussex County. No. Stop. Sick of it already. Sick of it. Oh, and not to mention, can something be done about that left turn signal in Millsboro on Route 20? Oh my goodness. You know how many people make that left turn towards Wawa in Millsboro? It causes a bottleneck during rush hour. So, Meyer really needs to keep his promise about being more involved in Sussex County, because I get it, it's the rural part of the state, but he's been talking about this and that. Like, okay, here goes my back. So yeah, I just want to say that I'm going to wish everybody a happy new year. It's going to be a lot of questions and this and that. I know last year was a little anxiety, but I really want to keep optimism about 2025. So I think 40 minutes is long enough, so I'm going to wrap this video up. Thank you for watching. And once again, let's be optimistic and faithful about 2025 because I really am optimistic about this new year, and we'll see what happens. So that's it.